Sit up straight and tall. Watch your breath. Your breath in this existence here, for those philosophers among you, your inhale, exhale is the first duality we experience. So for that reason, it's familiar. Familiarity doesn't always mean that you know your breath. So now's the time to start following that breath. Exhalation first. Inhalation follows exhalation. The more smooth and complete and easy that exhalation, the smoother, easier the inhalation. Join your palms. Pay homage to this practice and to that root teacher, Patanjali. Bow your head. Release your hands. Raise your head. Open your eyes. Today, for a change, sit on the floor. Perhaps you'll need these blankets in front of you. Sit on the floor. Right leg crosses first, left leg second, swastikasana. Okay, in swastikasana, you're going to stretch a bit toward your, right side first, just lengthening the left side. Go forward towards your right knee, right in the direction your knee is pointed. So your chin would hang off that knee. Relax the left leg. Then come up, go the other way. Sit in the center for a second. Make sure buttocks are both down. Then go the other way. Crawl that right hand out off to the left side. Lengthen backward also to that hip, not just reaching forward. Now come up. Okay. So you're gonna sit with your hands on the floor and your ribs drawn up. So you're making this length long, this length long, this length long. Then the hands come in front, maybe even the forearms bracing on the knees as you extend that abdomen forward. Keep your buttocks down, pelvic floor passive. Lengthen the abdomen, pelvis going forward. Don't shrink it. Take whatever support you need under the skull. When you get there, to your fullest extension. If your buttocks begin rolling off the floor, support your head. If the distance from sternum to pubis begins shrinking and compressing, support your head. So you go forward, keeping that extension. Follow the exhalation and inhalation to completion. I'm not saying start doing pranayama, but I'm saying explore that exhalation all the way till it feels like the breath has been emptied. And be easy about it. Don't be forceful. Follow the breath. Don't push it or lead it. Follow it. And when it comes time to inhale, follow it. If you've not created obstructions, and that's not an admonition, it's just a situation. If there are obstructions, the breath won't rise all the way up to the top chest. Come up. You get the idea. Remove obstructions, keep things long. Another way of putting it, change your legs. Left foot first, right foot second. Another way of putting it is, and I've said this in a couple of classes lately, imagine on either side of your navel, you have two lines. When you're zeroing in on the navel, you can feel them right around the navel. As you extend down and up, you may be able to extend the length of those lines, your sensation, physical sensation of those lines. Okay, and as you breathe, those lines move. They move as you breathe. You keep your perception of them, but they move. Go forward. Follow your exhalation, inhalation. Keep those two lines long. Keep those two lines on either side of the navel responsive to the breath. When you feel how that moves, it translates to a similar breathability, extensibility in the sides of the spine. You have spinal muscles that are running parallel to these navel lines. Your spinal muscles on either side are on the outside of the body, parallel to what these two navel lines are like on the inner body. Along the front spine. Come up. Those lines lengthen in both directions, not just toward the head. Yeah, also toward the groins. Do you notice the exhalation seems to draw or focus toward the downward direction, pelvic floor? The inhalation pulls the lines and the breath up. Do you notice? Is that true? Okay, good. Stand up. Watch. Here's a wall. I'm going to face the wall, not too far away from it, and straighten my arm out at shoulder distance. Keeping this part, this trunk, all the way to my feet stable I'm not going to move it like there's a wall behind my back. Yet, I want to lengthen the lines of my arm toward the wall, away from the wall, toward the shoulder. So you don't see it so far away, and you may not see it at all, actually. There. So if I stand straight with a neutral arm, then I'm going to lengthen the arm. I'm not pushing my spine away from the wall. No, I am lengthening the arm toward the shoulder, toward the wall. The pressure on the wall increases. This shoulder blade wakes up and starts participating. Change arms or do both arms. If you're doing both arms, turn the palms out and create the same action. Okay. Don't be leaning too much into the wall, but you've got to be able to feel the activation of the muscle that lines up your bones and actually stretches things. You feel it? How that shoulder socket gets deeply anchored and shoulder blade, back shoulder activated. Okay, palms turn out if you haven't done that yet. Palms turn out, 2 hands at the wall. Create that. Release that, turn your fingers so they face the floor and the thumbs face outward. Do that as best you can and stretch that arm to the heel of the hand, to the index finger knuckle equally, and back to that shoulder. Exhale. Inhale. Come up freely in that top chest. And then come out. You okay? One arm to the wall. You're in a lateral position. Okay? Don't get too far from the wall. Get in. So you're slightly bent in the elbow, just slightly. And then stretch the arm so you feel that inward, outward anchoring. You can push the wall. Now, if it's too much, if you got too close to the wall, step away. Make it so that there is balance between that outward extension, inward anchoring. Lift your chest, breathe. Now, the other arm that has no wall has to do the same thing. Stretch into the shoulder as if the wall were there. Stretch out to the palm as if the wall were there. So you create a similar action, both arms. Good, release. You could do the same thing with the palms turned out, fingers turned back, and fingers turned down. Or you could cut to the chase and roll the arms down by stages at the wall and away from the wall. Turn, reach to the heel of the hand, stretch, keeping that joint stable, inward, anchoring, outward extension. Bones, muscles, release, come out. Good. This, you get the principle here. So take take Utthita Trikonasana. Just gotta do it. A standing pose. Legs extending in two directions. And they do it independently of this breath. So a lot of us, and I'll put myself in this category, when we stretch into the floor, that gets done with an exhalation, and it feels good and healthy and fine. But when we do this upward extension into the hips, we often do it interfering with the breath. That lengthening into the hip joint shouldn't inhibit either the exhalation or inhalation. It should facilitate it. It shouldn't interfere. Turn to the right. Sorry, stretch your arms, turn to the right. Both directions. That inward stretch, that outward extension, it should make the breath more free in the chest, legs more free in the abdomen. Take Trikonasana, anchor to the floor, lengthen to the hip socket. If need be, widen your stance to increase the length. Now go back to these parallel lines and start breathing, especially exhaling, more thoroughly to establish that line to the groin, out the leg, up into the chest. Now stretch your arms equally both directions. Stretch the legs, inhale, come up, turn your feet. Rest the arms if you need to. If that inward, outward extension is balanced, the arms can stay put. As sort of one of the clues. Turn the left leg, stretch the legs, out and in. Release the sides of the navel. Be persistent in these extensions and in their work to free that breath all the way down. Once you're down and weight bearing on that arm, go more deeply inward to the breath and the establishment of these lines. Lengthen your stance, walk your back foot further back if you need to. Perhaps you might need to raise the trunk to get more length out of that left side line. Now stretch the arms and legs, anchor into the floor, lengthen your lines, and come up and turn the feet. Bring the feet together. The next one is, it's like this, one pushing, one free. You're going to take Ardha Chandrasana, and I want you to just move into it sort of the quick way, which is you place your foot where you know it needs to be for Ardha Chandrasana, the standing leg, and your front hand goes to where it needs to be for Ardha Chandrasana, and then you come up. If you need a wall, take a wall. So you've got one leg in the air, one leg on the floor, one arm on the floor, one arm in the air, maybe on the hip at this point, or maybe it stretches back. So line yourself up straight. Bring that standing hip forward. Lengthen the leg into the floor, up to the hip socket. Two directions. The lifted leg, two directions. So there's a lift back that comes into the spine and helps open those lines, spine lines, abdomen lines. Karen, you raise your hand high enough that you get the adrenal open and move that thigh back away from the adrenal and move the ribs forward away from the adrenal, especially the lower side. People with kidney issues, adrenal issues, this is a great pose, especially with some support. Come out carefully, stay lateral. Chaya, do you have pain in that standing hip? Yes, the standing hip. So if you face the wall, standing hip. If you face the wall with your foot on the wall, it will be easier for you to figure how to adjust this hip comfortably. When your back is to the wall, you don't have as many options. Please try briefly on your first side, the side that already gave you trouble, and see if it makes sense to you. Foot a bit away from the wall, not so far that the top toes have to bend. The rest of you, please go to side two, unless you two need to solve an issue with that standing hip and low back. Chaya, how does it feel? Oh, she creeps back.
No pain, no pain.
Good. So repeat that on the other side and work that way in the future.
Okay, okay.
Okay. It
Thank
gives
you
much
so
more freedom to find your spot.
Okay.
Okay. Now, the rules are the same. The leg lengthens toward the floor, toward the hip socket. The lifted leg stretches out to the heel and toes, and that thigh comes back to the hip socket. Chaya, lower the brick and move it slightly forward. Yes. Now, the shape is better. I hope your hip is okay here too. Marcia, this is good. I do think you should lower your brick as well, Marcia. It would help that abdomen be long. Okay, please come out. Yes, both sides work this way. Good. Excellent. All right, Ardha Chandrasana is good for the hip, but it's got to get used healthily. Now we're going to take a little Shirshasana break or inversion break. But we're going to go into it in forward bend ways. So hang on 1 second. Here you are with the feet slightly apart, and you fold forward. And if your forward bend gets your fingers to the floor, Then catch your big toes, Padankushtasana. If you can't catch your big toes, you get a strap and you put that strap underneath the base joints of the toes, from the big toe to the little toe. It goes across the base joints of the toes, not the arch. You got to have bone pushing on that belt. 2 feet. So you get as close to the foot as you can, or you catch those big toes. Padankushtasana. First things first, lengthen the leg. Use your exhalation to ground into the floor. Lengthen up to the hip. Use your breath to draw out the length of the trunk, the abdomen, those navel lines. Now start stretching the arm, pushing your knuckles into the floor and your shoulders up to the ceiling. Push your knuckles against the floor with your big toe and stretch the arm, straight arms, stretch the arm as high as you can up to the ceiling. And it's going to feel like it pulls your spine toward the floor. Lengthen the spine. Then you get to bend your elbows, keeping the length in the abdomen. 2 sides of the navel long. Elbows widening, sides of the neck long. So if you pull too vigorously, you'll shut your breathing off and the lines will shrink. If you pull correctly, the lines stay open. Now release from this gradually. Okay. So hopefully you got somewhere opening this groin abdomen sort of path. So you want to go to the wall or go to your ropes or your device. And if you're only in preparation, then you go to your spot on the floor. If you're in preparation, then this is where you kind of end. These arms lengthen and anchor into the shoulder, the abdomen lines, spine lines grow as you walk in, and you can lift one leg up and create the same actions we've been doing all along. So that could be your preparation. And if you're going fully into Shirshasana, you maintain awareness of leg length in both directions. Watch your feet, Gay. Take your feet to your right. Keep going, another inch, good. Stay there. Pin your feet to the wall. Keep the elbows in. The lengthening of these limbs includes all sides of the limb so that joints don't go askew. You know, the work is right because the breath is facilitated, not interfered with. Karen, your feet are tipping. Oh, they're coming around. They're coming straight, but they were going toward your right, like a tiny rotation there. Keep the groin straight. Gay, you're staying put. That's good. Leanne looks very straight. Chaya, the preparation is worse than the headstand. You should learn maybe to, unless it's a blood pressure issue, that you should not go up, in which case that's one thing. But if it's just not being on your neck, you should cultivate the 2-chair headstand. That's like the same as these devices, and it could give you great relief.
I'm getting cramps here. If I lift up my leg, I'm getting cramps here.
That's the fault in the hips, and it can be with proper extension. That doesn't need to happen. And again, it's something that doesn't happen in headstand because you're not folded like that in the hips.
I'm getting cramps, bottom leg.
The standing leg, yes, ma'am.
Here.
Yes, I know exactly. Okay, we're gonna work on that soon. Please come out of Shirshasana, everybody. Keep those legs straight. Marsha, stretch your knees. Back to the hips, out to the feet, way out to the feet.
Devon, I've got a question.
Yes.
Okay, I think what confuses me is my pointy ribs, because I try to bring them down and soften them, but that shortens that line in the front. So do I let my ribs, front ribs come up and get more length here, and then try to get just as much length here? Or do I
It's a measuring game. You want the diaphragm free all around its circumference. You want the side waist free all around its circumference. So if your flaring front ribs seem to exaggeratedly flare, and it's exaggerated because it's matched with a sense of closure in the back. But if your back is open and your sides are open and these front ribs are flaring, who cares?
Okay, all right.
Where is your breath? Where the lines? Where is your breath? Right? If these flare too much, you understand this is the kidney band.
Yeah.
So you gotta watch is the kidney band is in back. Watch that it spreads.
Okay.
Focus there, and focus on the front of the kidney.
Okay.
Focus on the front of the kidney.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Get a strap. So first be in Supta Tadasana. So this front hip is open, neutral, we'll call it. It's not really fully open. Is a big stretch for a lot of people. It's an extreme. Lengthen the back side, lengthen the front thigh. Stretch the foot. Now, drop the right knee. Oh, join your legs if they are not yet joined. Join them. And then drop the right leg, right knee. Put the belt around your right heel, not toes, not arch. heel and push your heel into that strap right up till it's vertical and straight. Don't bring it towards your head or towards your other foot. Vertical, genuine, geometric vertical. So back up a little bit, Gay. Yes, back up a little more. Good. That's your thigh is vertical. Now stretch your lower leg up to match. No, I don't beg pardon. I mean the shin bone, not the second leg. The lower leg being the shin and calf have to get in line with the thigh and lengthen toward the knee, toward the foot. Pull on your strap straight toward the hip socket, not toward your chest. Vertically down, pull that strap. Vertically down toward your hip. Now, there a lot of stretch should be applied to lengthening that leg against the pull of the strap. Keep your abdomen soft. That stretch of the leg should not bother those two navel lines. The stretch of the leg should enhance. Now, not abruptly, but deliberately let go of the pressure of the strap and maintain the leg action, lengthening both directions, and the release of the abdomen and navel. Now, recatch that strap. And now you can slide the strap anywhere you want, but draw your toes towards your head deep in the forward bend. Keep the space in the hip. Keep that thigh straight. Draw the toes towards your head. Take a deep pose, whatever that means for you, but keep the leg straight and keep the navel lines. Take deeper exhalations. This can help you both stretch the leg and clarify those lines. Release, come out. You understand there are two phases or three phases of this. One is really anchoring the foot with that strap. The other one is doing it all by yourself. And the other, that third one, is trying to take that extension and increase it without bothering. This is where the catch of the big toe should be. It should be without interfering or shortening these abdomen pelvic lines. And if you bend your knee, you shorten that line. I hope that's noticeable. Side two. Up you go. Stretch that leg. Anchor it to the floor. Push it to the ceiling. Use the strap to help yourself wake that leg up correctly and free the abdomen, pelvic breath. Stretch your right leg too. Then go free of the strap and see what happens to those lines. And if you can use the leg and get the lines back, then catch the strap again around the foot Is the cramp coming, Chaya? You're cramp free.
Yeah, it's coming back. If I
Oh,
lose,
it is.
yeah. If it's no cramps here, if I leave the bed, this cramp is coming here.
Okay, you need to use your foot and lower leg, meaning shin, calf of that same leg, much more. And use the outer thigh drawing to the hip socket much more. I see the foot shaking. Go ahead, take K-strap. Take K-strap. Is that a dog?
Yeah, it's a dog.
Good. Nice voice. Go as deep as you can, keeping the lines. The exhalation, inhalation, free. You need to be able to breathe from the pelvic floor to the top chest, even if that leg is in an intense forward bend. Come out. Work for the breath. Now, same thing, Supta Parangushtasana 2. I'm going on that diagonal, so you might see a little more. Use that strap as needed. Now, this lateral action does, if you're not clear with the inward anchor, outward extension balance of this leg, it greatly interferes with those lines. Now, I'll tell you, when this goes well, the lines spread, but you don't lose their length. Use that strap. Take the leg to the side, anchoring into the hip, so in such a way that the breath is free. Now, a lot of times when this is difficult, when there are organic problems or there's joint problems, we brace that lateral foot, right foot in this case, on the wall. And we get in close, so it just that it's like standing, and it moves that thigh bone into the socket and neutralizes the abdomen. So the breath is very full in the abdomen. So be observant how much of the work of this is being done with the strap and how much is being done with the leg. And everything you do is to preserve and enhance those breath lines. Come up, please. Change sides. Release, pass through 2 straight legs on the floor, just briefly, so you observe both weight, 2 legs on the floor. Yeah, just for a moment. So you have a chance to observe what the breath is doing. 2 legs on the floor. Don't start side 2 yet. 2 legs on the floor. Taking several breaths. The thing to observe is the consistency, integrity of those 2 lines. Are they equidistant from the navel, since one leg has gone to the side? Has that line moved relative to the left? Did the left get dragged around by your action? Are those lines parallel? Is the breath equal on both sides? You need to notice these things. And sometimes you need to take steps to equalize them here before you proceed. I'm not saying what is wrong. Maybe you should feel a distinct shifting of those lines. What but keep the full length. Keep hunting for the full length of the lines. Left side. I hope that's understandable. Every time you do a pose, it influences those lines. This vertical leg, the lines are influenced, but they stay sort of parallel. When you move that left leg to the left, watch the lines. They move. Now see if you can stretch the leg out and anchor it in equally in such a way that that line gets its integrity back, both lines. It often happens going to the left, the right side line gets pulled left and the left side line gets pulled left. Sometimes it bows out so far, it seems like it breaks, you sort of lose the sense of the line. Keep the line. You got to anchor in toward the center as much as spreading out. The lines move. Keep them as equal as possible. Keep that right leg line away from the navel if you can. Come up. Watch the lines. Come out. So with respect to those lines, this is why most of the time we do Supta Padankushtasana just at a 90-degree angle. When people start getting ambitious and catching the big toe and coming up, it's nice in terms of flexibility, but in this inner body terms, you need to arrange for that. Okay. Are you okay? All right. Let's try a seated forward bend. Simple seated forward bend. I think last time we worked with Upavishta Konasana. Is that true? We did this. Did we turn? Did we take this pose with you? Okay. So this time, Janu Shirshasana. And in doing Janu Shirshasana, guess what? It's an asymmetrical pose, and it's like Supta Padankushtasana lateral. This side line is away from the navel. Is that true? It just feels spread out here. This side feels close to the navel. See if you can, don't shrink this back in, spread this one out. Spread this line out. Broaden the front thigh, broaden the crease, broaden the abdomen. So I'm crossing over here to facilitate the spread. Back here. Now, I'm mainly going to go diagonal again. I'm mainly going long, but I'm going diagonal so that this line, the straight leg side line, doesn't get pinched and shrunk as I come forward. Keep that line on the right side long. So if you look, I'm actually crossed over outside the shin, and I'm using both arms to help preserve that length. You don't need to exaggerate it. You just need to get it and keep it and go forward as much as you will. you will see, I'm just going to change sides, that when you keep that straight leg abdomen rolled, the bent leg spine also rolls. The bent leg spinal muscle broadens. Broadens. So you think in both front and back terms. Don't exaggerate in either of the lines, but stretch them equally long. Go forward. And come up. And change side. Stretch both legs straight for just a moment so you observe what new condition you're in. Doesn't have to be asymmetrical, but probably there's a new flush of circulation and awareness, and it might be asymmetrical. Change sides. Bring that heel in, support. Nobody seems to need knee support. So you're sitting there with the knee bent, just observing your condition and evaluating and noticing the spread, the contraction. How deep does that contraction go? How high, how low, how far in? How much can you use this leg stretching and anchoring and rolling to influence the restoration of the straight leg line? Start coming forward. Don't harden anything, right? Finding that line shouldn't cause you to go rigid. Breathe. It's a constant exhale, inhale. Cross over, my foot wiggles because I'm always hunting for something extra in this leg. Extend both sides of the spinal muscles. Extend both sides of the navel. There should never be an obstruction of the inhalation or exhalation. Shape of the breath isn't going to be the same as it is in pranayama. It's going to be restricted, but it's by the external shape, not by your internal stuckness. Go forward. Any amount. And come up. And sit there with the bent leg for a second, just observing, and then stretch both legs straight and adjust your pose so you're not twisted. Go forward, lengthen the navel. You might put blankets under your hips for this one because there's no escape valve like a bent leg in Paschimottanasana. So maybe blankets under the hips so you get a little bit of free lift right at the bottom of these lines. And you come forward, you come up. And either catch your toes or you catch a chair. And first come up. Up, 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 long up. Legs must stretch. out to the foot, back to the hip. And Chaya, one thing that helps the crampiness at this top thigh inflection is thinking that the lengthening is not here at the surface, but it's very deep where the bone is. And this part has little to do with it. It's the bone way down here that's trying to slide under the pelvis. And if anything, this front thigh is lengthening with your abdomen lines. You can let that front thigh come forward with you, but the femur bone is going back. I don't know if that changes the sense of crampiness, bunchiness. Okay, good. Come up, please. So what makes that bunchiness there is the flexion at the hip is on the surface, and it has to be very deep. Right, that these abdomen lines have to basically X-ray vision here. They have to go all the way down to the floor. These groin lines have to wind up here, taking the bone here. So this muscle becomes less relevant. And the pelvis is just free to come up and over. Fight Virya once said, in the depth of Paschimottanasana, the hamstring is going back to the hip socket, but this front thigh and the shin and the ankle and the foot, they are all going forward. This front thigh is going forward. And it's a very pleasant, uncrampy feeling. Okay, come up. We have to come out of forward bends. So we're in Setubandha land, Karen. How are we gonna arrange for Setubandha?
But I don't have the bench here. It's at my studio.
Use your Simhasana box and put a blanket roll under the kidney so it makes the kidney lift. Does that make sense?
Yes.
On that, put a sticky mat on the slope so you can fix the sticky mat, other sticky mat or blanket where you need it. Okay, the rest of us, and even Karen, you're gonna make a shift in slow motion from hip flexion to hip extension. And you do it by, what did we just say for forward bends? This front thigh goes toward the knee, back thigh goes toward the hip. So keep that up. Front thigh toward the knee, back thigh toward the buttock and hip. Roll your shoulders under, lengthen the biceps, top of the arm toward the shoulder. Lengthen the triceps, back of the arm away. Get that skin of the back shoulder, back arm, shoulder blade going away from the skull. Front thighs away from the hip, back thigh in. As you move, you can take breaks and lower the hips and go back up again. But as you move, you got to do it very deliberately with those limbs, very deliberately deflating the abdomen so your awareness of those lines persists. On the inhalation, deflate the abdomen. On the exhalation, lengthen those limbs. Go as high as you can. Rise up off your heels to bring the hips higher. Make the shins longer. Walk those shoulders under more. Use those two directions of the arms to open that chest. Drop your throat as you lift the ribs. Come out, rest. Next time you'll be on bricks, 1 or 2. Shoulders can be on blankets. Seek some comfort in the neck and head. But, the last thing would be a bolster for underneath your feet. If it comes to you being able to stretch your legs. If you become able to stretch those legs. So I put a blanket underneath both shoulders, neck, and head, not just under the head. So with this careful lifting and extension through the limbs. Oh, and just so you know, one way of checking it, things are going well with those 2 lines, the navel lines, is that the 2 nostrils tend to breathe more evenly. So those of you who have tendencies to, sinus blockages, wait, isn't it the other way, Karen?
Oh,
Shoulders go where your hips go, and the hips where your shoulders were.
as I usually do it.
Yes, the usual way. But you need a roll somewhere on that slope. Right under the slope of the box, on the slope of the box, underneath your ribs. So the rest of you just think about those 2 sides of the spine, the parallel spinal muscles. Now get a rolled blanket, Karen. Yes, open it up. One more time. And roll it tightly. And lay it crosswise over that slope of the box. That's where the slope go toward the uphill slope, not the down slope, the up slope. Now back up. That's where your hips are. That's where your shoulders are. Go in between.
Here?
Yes. Maybe up higher. It's got to go under your kidneys. Bring it up toward where your hips go. Another 2 inches. Yes. Now, go in the pose. That's going to be adjustable, but it starts high. Oh, it's probably perfect.
Ah, yes.
You
Ah.
see it now.
Mhm.
It should be somewhat forceful, but when those legs get stretched out, it might get better. Lengthen the sides of the kidney. That's for everybody.
Ah, oh, this is so good.
So you get the idea. Now, it turns out it could be a little bigger, but I'm happy with it as it is. You get the point.
Mm.
Spend some time there. Are you watching what she's doing, Leanne? No. Now you get more lift out of those spinal muscles if the arms go toward your feet and you work more actively with them, right? If you, for instance, interlock your fingers on either side of that brick that most of you are resting on. Chaya, was it the back again? Was your back a problem? No.
I want to no, my back is good, no back pain. I want to
Great.
watch Karen. I want to watch Karen, what she's
What Karen is doing.
yeah.
Well, you see, she has that special prop. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
It's called the Simhasana box.
Oh,
So it's this very I'm not exactly sure why it's called Simhasana, except it's also its other name that the Iyengars give it is a heart bench.
heart
So
bench.
it can be used for lifting the heart. And this is actually using it in the exact opposite orientation from usual, but it's a multi-purpose prop.
Oh,
I have one and I use it to support Urtva Dhanurasana,
oh,
strangely.
oh, very nice. Very nice.
Okay. It is close to the end of class, so you should come out or stay, but I am going to depart at 9:15. So it'd be nice if you came out and I saw that you were safe and stable. And yeah. That's the way to come out. Okay. Shavasana.
Karen, you look so great in that pose.
Oh, it felt wonderful. Oh,
Where did you buy
really?
that one? In the Amazon.com? Where did you buy that stool?
Oh, well, I bought it through a French connection. So you have to ask Dad.
Wow.
This is what it looks like.
Looks
I even
It's
like
got
using standing poses sometimes when my pelvis feels like it's
okay.
not balanced.
It gets used. I have to raise the floor because it's for all kinds of heights of people. So you can raise the floor, but it supports shoulder blades.
Oh, looks great.
Could you do
Supports the chest.
pranayama like that, Devon?
Absolutely, yes.
Oh, I am going to try that.
This is good for, if you support it properly, it's good for people who've had heart attacks. or heart problems.
Yeah.
And they need to physically rest the heart. A hard surface is useful. This also is just super useful for stiff people in like seated poses.
Oh,
Janu Shirshasana.
That could be good to do my seated poses like that for my hips.
Triang Mukha.
Yes.
You're just on a firm height, height. And the turning gets supported.
Very lovely.
I have to go to my next class.
okay.
I wrecked your Shavasana. You should do Shavasana.
Okay, we'll do Savasana.
That was excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
Namaskar.
Namaskar. Thank you so much, Devon. Lovely class.
Namaste.
Thank you, everybody.
Namaste.